Professional actors, especially celebrities, their job is to be human. Movies, or if they go to court, or any way, they represent people who are the most human. And we need them because we don't know how to imagine ourselves being human without them. They help humanize our lives. You say, oh, all these humans on TV, these Jewish humans or these black humans, but they're really human. It's like you could watch a Jewish show like Seinfeld. Oh, look, Jewish people like to have sex too, and they also really funny. I'm not saying this show is about Jews per se, but it was a very Jewish show, and no one thought it's like, oh, they're humans though. I'm just trying to show you not that they're Jewish, but that people liked it because they helped them to see what was human about people. Right? People felt like they had friends like this, or they had their lives were also kind of funny, like these people's lives were funny, even if they weren't. That this was as human as your life, even if it wasn't. That being human is something you only have to imagine other people being, and that was okay to feel like you were human enough because you didn't want to really look at your own life to see how human it really was. You could watch a really sad story and say, "Oh, my life is like that too." You could watch a really oh, my life is like that. You could watch in terms of endearment or the bridges of Madison County. Oh, life is like that too. And life is always like the way it's in a professional context. Yet it's never like that. These people are anything more than professionals at making you like them and how human they make you feel. You know that? They're all human, right? They have this thing where celebrities read mean tweets. It makes them seem human. And they're so human, they let other people speak up. They know that people are going to say mean things about them. It's only human. They're really good humans. And they understand that they're compassionate. You realize it's part of their job to take insult. To look at them and see them being insulted in ways that before people might say, oh, Cary Grant, what a faggot. But Cary Grant didn't have to know that. Now Cary Grant can go, oh, look at this. It's a tweet. It says, Cary Grant looks like a faggot. And he'll just laugh. Okay. And he'll make some sort of mammalian body language, and you'll be like, oh, Cary Grant, you're more human than ever. Those awful people who think you're homosexual. So they're always humanizing themselves. They're always professionals at looking human. Isn't that neat? Yeah. That's the industry, and it's connected to the industry of money. And you spend money imagining yourself being certain kinds of people. A money spender is always somebody. You got money, you're somebody, right? Jason Bourne can walk into a hotel, put down a passport, and be like, just because he has a passport, he gets one of the best rooms in the house. Thank you, Mr. Bourne. Boy, I gotta get myself one of them passports. He's somebody. People love to be somebody. I think people like traveling because people treat them like they're somebody. That's why white people always stay in hotels and on their cruise ship, because they're somebody. They start traveling somewhere away from the white economic colonial system. They don't feel like somebody anymore. Some of them like it because they don't like being somebody anymore. They realize their cancer will go away if they stop being somebody. Others, they never stop going somewhere where they can be somebody. Do you ever meet people who always have to be somebody? And everything they do, they were somebody everywhere they went. Have you ever known someone who's nobody? And they're just like nobody wherever they go. Oh, I'm nobody. I never amount to anything. If you don't think you amount to something, it doesn't mean you're not somebody. It means you just didn't learn to be somebody. People who don't amount to much are people that foreigners like to meet most. When people go to another country, they'd rather talk to people like me than people who are really somebody. They're really nice travelers, not the rich cunts, right? They want to meet people who are real. They want to sit on a beach with me and smoke a joint with some guy that lives on the West Coast. Because even though to the people who live here, the white people, I'm always a tourist, to the tourists that come here, I'm as indigenous as it comes. I met a real West Coaster, right? Right? Because the real people and the honest people are not as good at being somebody. They're not powerful, intimidating actors, right? I don't want to meet your country's soldiers. I don't want to be the people who lives in gated communities. I want to meet the real people. The people who look at TV, drink too much beer, and play with themselves. Because it's only human. You know, it's only human to play with yourself. Art. They say fuck the government now, Anne, but they have strong sympathies with their God, their mother, their father. In a certain way the world should be, and they make it so inside their heart by the sound of their bellowing voice at night. That's a real person. The kings of the world, the dispersed nobility of the common man. I thought I'd end on a speech. Really put my foot in it. Imagine if that was a good thing. Man, how's it going? Oh, I put my foot in it. Oh, no, it's a good thing. I really put my foot in it. Awesome. You ever shit all over it? And I wiped it on things. I stood on the white tables at somebody's wedding and danced and did the jig and said, I'm a leprechaun. I shook my foot and a little bit of excrement went on the bride's face. Big men got up and tried to molest me. It was great. Right. It's only funny because I wouldn't do that, and it is wrong. And now I'm going to call my... Ready? Mother. I want to have enough pleasant days that I forget what it's like to suffer. I need that. This is my vacation. The day didn't start off very vocal, but it got that way. It got that way. This is good. 11:01. Hello. How are you?
Good. Good. How are you?
Good. It's your son.
Pardon?
Oh, I just said it's your son. I just said that for no reason. Sorry.
Okay.
Um,
Don't confuse me.
no, I know. No, I know there's no confusion. So how's your day going?
Good. I'm doing lazy today.
Yeah. My day started off slow, but I'm kind of on my way back and it's warming up a little bit. So,
Yeah. It's good.
so
Good.
yeah, no, I'm glad you're just chilling out. He's holding down the fort.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. It's a good day. It's not raining, so it's good.
It would be a little bit better day if I had Buddy to hug. Mm. But
Yeah.
I had that one thought when I woke up.
Yeah.
But
I
anyway,
miss him today.
yeah,
Well, I miss him every day, but I miss him more today.
yeah, I'd hug him so much.
Anyway.
Anyway, go watch Caesar Milan on TV or something.
Yeah.
It does. I do it like once. I try to do it once a day, and it does make me feel good.
Yeah. Maybe I will.
He really has a strong spiritual connection to animals. It's amazing.
Yeah, he does.
You can't fake that stuff.
No. No, I don't know.
Anyway, now that I cheered you up, I'll let you go. I'll probably see you in a couple hours.
Sure.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Buddy, most beautiful. I get it ringing in my ears. Most beautiful being, Buddy. Buddy's the best, man. Buddy is our dog. Buddy's more than a dog. I mean, oh God, Buddy's a teacher. Buddy's a wolf. The wolf is the teacher, and boy, that dog is teaching me, baby. Oh, that dog taught me to stay away from women. I mean, just like he's like showing me, like No, Landon, these women are aggressive. They are aggressive. They may not seem that way to you. It doesn't seem like women are really aggressive around me. In anyone, man or woman, can just deem someone's behavior aggressive because, hey, you're the opposite sex. You're behaving to me in a way that I know is very different from people who don't have any agenda on any sexual level whatsoever. Okay? And we can all make those mistakes. I'm sure if I come up to a lot of women, you would say, well, automatically, because you have a penis, you have an agenda. Maybe, right? It goes the same for everybody. And I also think, well, I should probably get used to it. I don't claim to be the most sexually developed human being here. But I laugh because I don't think there is such a thing as sexual development. I realize that I'm taken the wrong way, but I don't think what we mean as sexual development is altogether clear. Okay? I mean, let's face it, we could criticize everything, and eventually we're probably going to want to criticize what people consider normal sexual development. I'm sure different religions would think about that. People who have been raped would probably think differently about that, because, especially, by the way, not just because you've been raped, but your mind slowly gets opened up to something that a lot of people can't or don't want to see in cursors of rape, in what we say structural violence, patriarchal, how men are, how it's male dominant, or anything like that. I think there's other arguments to be made. This isn't the place for those, but we honor that. Women don't have to have everything figured out to say stop hurting us, right? You don't have to say hey, feminists to figure out how to not hurt my male feelings before I'm gonna respect the sound of your screams. So so the world in law has said advantage to women as much as we can, as far as it has thus far, more or less to your satisfaction. It is a big experiment, and we're going to have, a wise woman would say, hey, good job, everyone. We're all one big happy family with serious sexual problems. People don't rape people in heaven, I one day, this isn't the right place, but I one day would like to talk a bit more about being raped by women. And you have to talk about it the right way. Because you don't want to err on the side of making it seem like, I know everything about rape because I can say those words. Or it's the same as a woman being. You have to make some very clear boundaries. I don't need to approach that conversation by claiming anything but the little and only the little I need to be able to be sufficient to say what I need to say. Someone who's sufficiently modest isn't just going to stay in a persuasive mode of speaking. So if I say, I've been raped by women, that's a persuasive and a provocative statement. It says, women can rape men, and then women can do something criminal to me with their sexual energy, and I can be the victim of that. And you could say, I'm just weaving words around unsatisfying romantic episodes or something, or interludes, or assassination. And I stand convicted. And that's fine, because it keeps the male voice from getting too loud or confident in its protestations. And maybe we don't want that. Maybe we don't want men to have too much of a voice in how women treat them sexually. Maybe. I'm not saying, maybe the world is exactly the way it should be. I don't know. It's one video, I'm one man. I try to be as humble about it as I can, because at least if I'm wrong, I'll be able to change my mind. And quite frankly, whether I'm wrong or not, I want to be able to change my opinions on the subject. And the only thing, if I am in the wrong or not, is that I'm in shock. And when you're in shock, you don't always know the right thing to say when you're just trying to awaken the voice that you may have had and not been encouraged to have by so many different experiences that you could hardly blame the person who exploited your lack of a voice. You know, and you could spread that blame around. There's 8 bald eagles flying right in front of me. 8 or 10, right in front of me. Protectors, right? Woo! 9. Yeah, 8, 9. Wow. Hey ho. Hey ho. Beautiful. Better than angels. Better than angels. I'd rather have an eagle than an angel any day. Eagles function. So Buddy Wolf, a teacher, he's still with my mom. I know it. She's just got to learn not to be too sad about it. Try to help each other. He protected her, you know, and he helped me protect her. I'll leave it at that. He helped protect her right to the end. He protected us. He gave his life in his way to protect us. He's like the mighty Thor. He just did it naturally. It's just who he is. Thanks, buddy. And not every dog may be that to you, but it's an honor. I want to be like Buddy, you know? I want to creep up on people slowly so that my strength does what it needs to do and people don't even notice it. They just don't feel inclined to hurt me. I would like it if I had the effect that people didn't want to hurt me. But still, I could draw the truth out of people. Because we all need to be able to do that. Draw the truth out of people. Make sense of it. Whether you're looking at a piece of art or something that says, hey, you better stay away from me. You know, you're resolving the image of a person or the truth that they're telling you, either into, you know, this person is wanted or a beautiful picture. You know, all the ways that truth or the coherence or incoherence of a person or their impressions upon us can be resolved to our satisfaction or our safety. So, wow, I mean, there's people in our building that are not scrupulous. I'll just leave it at that. And in that way that now, you know, their buddy's gone, my mom doesn't interact with those people. It's amazing how near the end, these people are kind of swarming around her. The more vulnerable my mom was, as Buddy in his palliative life, the more certain people were trying to get what they wanted from my mom. I noticed the confluence, or me, the evil energy that were hungry for things about me and my mom and our home and our lives. Well, you know, basically just, you would say, like, just trying to meet their own personal desires. I was very aware of it. It ultimately became a deciding factor that allowed me to help protect my mom. Because it's very hard when people like this get control of people like my mom, just being themselves. They're like used car sales, getting my mom to pry herself away because they get you addicted to like what they're trying to get from you. They're only making you feel good to the degree that makes you feel like you want to do what they need you to do for them. They were buttering her up, right? Get what they wanted. They're being selfish. I can't believe, yeah, these people, this guy doesn't know how to deal with older people, for one, which I've seen other evidence. He doesn't know, I don't think he respects older women very much. I don't think either of them do. I think there's a real problem there. You just have to balance that out. But Buddy, he protected her. And if you need protection like that, that's kind of scary, but it's like, we got through it. They're not bad people, but they're not scrupulous. Yeah. They're kind of sick. I could see in lots of little and big ways through my mom and my own experience that their brains don't think very well or take cues from other people's body language. That can be a very bad sign. And I can also just tell. I can pick up the signature of a controller when they're talking to my mom. The spirit of it. I can feel the energy of, like, you might say, the mental field created by the confluence of two people. You can see if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like if you saw two colors come together on your canvas and you're like, oh, you like that or you don't like it. You know, resonance. Two people can become something bad, but neither one of them knows it. They put their minds together. You know, women that work in the office together behind plexiglass, they can be a little bit aggressive to the public. They get, they get tribal. They reinforce each other's misjudgments about others or any lack of restraint. So, like, women in the group can do things to, say, even older women that are hurtful, and they don't, as part of their job, and they don't even realize it. They're just reinforcing this idea that, oh, it's good for you, it's good for you, it's good for you, good for you. And yet, they've told me, like, every single woman that comes to their office comes in distress. And then they explain to them why it's okay and it's really good for them. Because they were issuing fraudulent parking tickets that were unclear as to whether or not they owed hundreds of dollars to the city, which old people with a lot of things to concern themselves with on medication, they get a certain type of notice, they prioritize it. Because the last thing you want to do is to appear to their family as to mismanage their affairs, because it might affect renewing their license and all those imperative things about a ticket to your car, is that you generally want to pay them as quickly as possible. So these women have become sadistic in the way that law enforcement itself operates like an organism with excessive amounts of estrogen, which rises, say, in a female body or a government corporation, at the best sense, to protect itself. Right? Estrogen is part of protection. Estrogen is protection. So, like, when a woman lives in an estrogen-rich environment and she happens to gain a lot of weight, that you often see that that's protecting her. It makes her bigger. It's a thick skin, right? But you might find in women that are really fat that they don't really know how to talk honestly about their relationship to food. And it's as though the size of their portions, let's say, I'm not saying in all cases, they make like a huge amount of food, like an entire large pizza for dinner for themselves. And their relationship with food is that they don't understand that just because you weigh 300 or 400 pounds doesn't mean you need to eat a whole pizza, right? And that your body is just converting it into fat or stored shit, essentially. So that you've turned your body into a toilet. Your body is a sewer system. It's a cesspit. It's full of cess or excrement or feces. It's septic. At the same time, it's protecting you from sepsis. And so the fat woman becomes really positive. Oh, I like men, but they never seem to want to think John is awesome. And there's Ray and Bob and Joe. Hey, all you guys, I love you guys. Right? And she's too positive, and it pushes men away. But it protects her at the same time. Her positivity inhibits and I've seen this in a lot of fat white women who are really positive. So you see that kind of immunological disorder going on. Now, nothing wrong. Like, again, the relationship to food has to be examined in terms of its proportions and what you need to eat every day. And if you need to eat more than that, like, there's got to be some kind of reason, right? And so, for instance, if you eat a lot of sugar, sugar cuts off your brain's ability to tell you that you've eaten enough. And it can force you to load up your body with so many empty calories that you continue to need to fill it up more. And so the more you need to eat and your body's looking for, the more stressful it is for your body. And the more likely your body, the whole situation, as a form of malnourishment or poisoning. So it's either going to try to shit everything out as uncomfortably as possible, or it's going to store it inside your body. And if you're busy ignoring your world, you don't hear what's happening. You don't notice. Most fat women should try to live in such a way that you can take as many dumps every day that can account for the amount of food you ate. It's really saddening. I share in the fat woman's desire to live and be free. I absolutely share in the terrifying threats to one's safety that can be projected onto food and food control. Look at all the diet books that fat women read. Teach what? Have control over the food. And it's awful because none of them teach you how to nourish yourself. I could teach you like 3 basic concepts right now that are worth more than all the diet books of the world. 1, you need protein. The right kind or array of protein for you today, tomorrow, the next day, according to all the factors that might relate to how much of this kind of protein that you need and is available and works for you and tastes good. That's number 1. Do that, and everything else is easier. Everything else is easier. Do that. That's it. Number 1. You can't write a book about that. They're like, that's the book of your life. You know? Don't blame everything. Don't blame everything on yourself. Don't blame everything on your circumstances, but understand that all of those things And don't eat and load up with sugar every day. Ice cream, cookies, baked goods, muffins, breads, pasta, fruit juices, alcohol. I mean, sugar is everywhere. If you do have it, I have these drinks. Get the sugar in the form of sugar, cane sugar, because that's actually food. That's not poison. I'm not saying it's perfect, but refined white sugar, or it's called sugar as well, is poison. It's not going to kill you today, but it affects the brain like alcohol. It's got a certain kind of euphoria, but it's kind of an embalming fluid. When your diet has too much sugar, it fucks your brain up, right? You don't want to do that. Your diet drinks, all get something with cane sugar, okay? And set yourself fucking free. You can get candy today made of cane sugar. You have to do it all the time. But when you get enough protein, number one, everything is easier because that's the food of your brain. That's the food of the pillar of salt. That's the food of the heavens and the earth. That's what gets the tree of life really. You have a natural mammalian hunger for protein. I don't care where you get it, but it has to be enough and the right kind of protein for you every day. That's all. That's up to you and your body and your circumstances. That's key. It's not the end of all your woes. But while you're roiling through all the woes of the world, you'll do better off having the right kind of protein. It's like your best friend. That's better than your best friend. That's better than your lover. You should love that more than your own children. Your children should love it more than their own children. Because if you get enough protein, your brain will work properly. People sometimes don't know what that feels like. You have to retrain yourself. It's not always a hamburger either. The easy available meat. They have their place, but you can't always live off like a hamburger in a fast food restaurant has very little useful protein, even though it feels like it does. Okay, cooked meat hasn't always got all of every kind of protein in meat. It has a lot of other stuff too. I respect it. Respect the animal meat for sure for what it can give you, but you can't necessarily live off of bacon or steak, depending on your body, your circumstances, even your genetic heritage. But you, as you've decided who of life every day of your life, so it makes it interesting. And it's also